This is a story called The Kindness of Strangers. The Olsen family are a young family of 6. There's Mum Jane and Dad Peter, who are both aged 34 years old, and their 4 kids. Lois aged 14, Ashley aged 12, Tommy aged 11 and Robbie aged 9. Peter is a police officer and Jane is a vet. The family have just moved into a new house in a new area and are just settling in. One day Peter and his colleague are out on a call when a more urgent call came over the radio. A full-scale riot was taking place outside the local rugby ground. The officers got in their car and raced to the scene to assist their colleagues. After a couple of hours, the riot was over with and several arrests had been made. However, a gang of young men weren't in the least bit happy about some of their friends being arrested, and they decided to take it out on Peter. They beat him up and kicked him in the head and then banged his head over and over on the floor. As Peter was beaten, his colleagues tried to help him, but they were outnumbered as their other colleagues had taken their prisoners back to the police station. Peter was rushed to hospital unconscious and he was in a coma. His injuries were so severe that the doctors didn't think he'd live. They said that if he did live, he would most likely be brain damaged. When the family's new neighbours found out about what had happened, they went to see Jane and brought her and the kids food. And when Jane went to the hospital, they looked after the kids for her, even though she'd only met them a couple of times. Jane couldn't believe the kindness of strangers. Peter stayed in a coma for 4 weeks, and when he woke up he had to learn how to walk again. Thankfully there was no signs of brain damage, and after about 6 months he went back to work. At first he was only on light duty until he was strong enough to go back to normal police duties. However, the gang who attacked him still hadn't been caught. No one knew where they were. However, just after Peter went back to normal police duties, he was sent to a house that had been burgled, and when he arrived, the burglars were hiding in a shed. The occupants of the house had managed to keep them in the shed by locking them in as they ran in to hide. They told Peter that there was 2 of them and they were armed, so he called for backup. When backup arrived and they got the men out of the shed, Peter recognised them straight away. It turned out that they were 2 of the gang members that had beaten him up. The men were arrested and kept in custody until their court hearing. On the day of the court case, the men pleaded not guilty and they showed no remorse for what they'd done, and the case went to trial. During the trial, the men continued to plead not guilty and to show no remorse for what they'd done. However, the other gang members were still on the loose. One day, Lois, Ashley and Tommy were on their way to school when a van pulled up and some men got out and grabbed them. They put the kids in the van and drove off. What the men didn't see was the couple in their car recording everything on their dash cam. They handed the footage to the police straight away. The men took the kids to an old warehouse, tied them up and gagged them. Within a couple of hours the police had the warehouse surrounded and the men were forced to let the kids go and to give themselves up. They were sent to jail for numerous crimes along with the rest of the gang for at least 15 years each. After the men were locked away, the other kids started bullying Peter and Jane's kids. One day Tommy was on his way to school when 3 older kids grabbed him and beat him up really bad. A young couple came out of their house and grabbed the kids off Tommy and took him to school. When they got there, Tommy's teacher asked him what had happened and he told her who it was and that they said they'd get him again. The kids were suspended from school for 3 weeks. They did get Tommy again, and this time they were arrested and charged with assault. Tommy's parents couldn't have been more grateful to the strangers and the kindness they'd shown by helping them and their kids. However, a few weeks later, Ashley had been out with her friends, and she was just on her way home when four girls who were also connected to the gang that attacked Peter grabbed her and beat her up, putting her in hospital. Yet again, it was strangers who attacked Ashley. The four girls were arrested and charged with assault. They were sorry for what they'd done, and none of them could have been more apologetic. After this, just as the family thought things were settling down, things took a turn for the worse again. Jane was taking little Robbie to school one day when a woman came up and punched her in the face, and her two sons grabbed Robbie and wouldn't let him go. Two other mums who had just dropped their kids off saw what was happening and stepped in to help Jane and Robbie. Again, these women were strangers. After that day, things really did settle down and life went back to normal. The family are still living in the same area and are now happy and settled. The kids are now settled in school and are all doing really well. The end. Thank you.